What if the Porsche Boxster wasn't underestimated because it lacked something, but because people were looking for the wrong things from the very beginning? From the moment it was introduced, the Boxster entered a conversation it was never truly designed for. Not a conversation about what it was, but about what it wasn't. It wasn't a 911. It didn't carry the same history, the same silhouette, or the same expectations that had defined Porsche for decades, and for many, that alone was enough to shape their opinion before the car even had a chance to prove itself. Because in the world of Porsche, identity has always been deeply tied to tradition. The rear engine layout, the unmistakable design language, the idea that performance comes with a certain character that has remained consistent over time. The 911 didn't just represent the brand, it became the standard by which everything else was judged, and that created a problem the moment the Boxster arrived. Not because it was flawed, but because it was different in a way that challenged that standard. It didn't try to replicate the 911's formula. It didn't attempt to fit into the same mold. Instead, it approached performance from a completely different perspective, one that prioritized balance over legacy, precision over familiarity. But that difference wasn't immediately understood. Instead, it was interpreted as absence. Absence of power, absence of prestige, absence of importance. The Boxster wasn't seen as a deliberate shift, it was seen as a step down, and once that perception takes hold, it becomes incredibly difficult to change. Because people don't just evaluate the car itself, they evaluate what they believe it represents, and in this case, the label was already decided before most had ever experienced what the car was actually capable of. The cheap Porsche, a phrase that simplified everything, reducing a carefully engineered sports car into a single assumption, and like most assumptions, it spread quickly, reinforced by comparisons that were never entirely fair to begin with. Because the Boxster was constantly measured against something it was never meant to replace, the 911. More powerful, more iconic, more expensive. On paper, the hierarchy was clear, but driving isn't done on paper, and that's where the narrative began to quietly unravel. Because once people actually drove the Boxster, once they moved past the badge hierarchy and focused on the experience itself, something unexpected started to happen. The things it was criticized for became less relevant, and the things it did well became impossible to ignore. The balance, the control, the confidence it gave the driver, qualities that didn't rely on status but on execution. And slowly, almost reluctantly, a different question began to emerge, one that challenged the very assumption the Boxster had been built upon. What if it was never the lesser Porsche, but simply the one people understood the least? If the Boxster's story began with misunderstanding, then what followed was something far less immediate, far less visible, but ultimately far more important, a slow and almost reluctant shift in perception that didn't come from marketing or branding or even reputation, but from something much harder to ignore, experience. Because over time, more people started to do what the early critics often hadn't. They actually drove the car. Not briefly, not as a comparison point, but as an experience on its own terms. And once that happened, the narrative that had defined the Boxster from the beginning began to show cracks, not all at once, but gradually. Because the first impression the Boxster gives isn't overwhelming. It doesn't try to impress in a single moment. There's no dramatic surge of power, no immediate sense that you're experiencing something extraordinary. In fact, for some drivers, it can feel almost underwhelming at first, especially when expectations are shaped by numbers, status, or comparison. But the longer you spend with it, the more something begins to change. The way the car responds starts to feel more natural. The way it carries itself through corners begins to feel more composed. Inputs feel lighter, but more precise. Movements feel smaller, but more meaningful. And without realizing it, the driver starts to adjust. Not because the car demands it, but because it encourages it. And that's when the Boxster begins to reveal what it was always designed to do. Not to impress instantly, but to reward attention. Because the more you pay attention, the more it gives back. The balance becomes more apparent. The control becomes more intuitive. The confidence builds not from speed, but from clarity. And at a certain point, the question is no longer whether the car is good enough. It becomes something else entirely. Why does this feel so right? This is the moment where perception begins to shift, not through arguments or comparisons, but through realization. Because once a driver experiences that level of connection, once they understand how the car communicates, how it responds, how it behaves at the limit, the earlier criticisms begin to lose their weight. The idea of it being lesser starts to feel disconnected from the reality of what the car actually delivers. And this realization didn't stay isolated. It spread through enthusiasts, through reviews, through conversations that started to sound different from the ones that came before. The language began to change. Less focus on what the Boxster lacked, more attention on what it offered. Less comparison, more appreciation. It wasn't immediate, and it wasn't universal, but it was enough to begin reshaping the narrative, because at some point it became difficult to ignore a simple truth. A car that consistently delivers a better driving experience than expected cannot remain misunderstood forever. And that's when the Boxster stopped being defined by its label and started being recognized for what it actually was. What ultimately defines a car is not how it is introduced to the world, but how it is remembered after the noise fades, after the comparisons lose their urgency, and after the expectations that once surrounded it begin to feel less important than the experience it consistently delivers. And for the Porsche Boxster, that process took time. Because unlike cars that establish their reputation instantly through overwhelming performance, unmistakable presence, or undeniable status, the Boxster followed a quieter path. It didn't demand recognition, it didn't force admiration. Instead, it relied on something far less immediate, but far more durable: consistency. Year after year, generation after generation, it continued to deliver the same core experience: balanced, predictable, engaging in a way that didn't rely on extremes. And as the automotive world moved forward, becoming faster, more complex, more dependent on technology, that consistency began to stand out in a way it never had before. Because what once felt understated started to feel rare. Drivers who returned to the Boxster after experiencing other performance cars began to notice something different. Not a lack of power, not a lack of capability, but a lack of distraction. Nothing felt unnecessary. Nothing felt artificial. The experience was focused, clear, and entirely centered around the act of driving itself. And in that clarity, the car found its identity, not as the most powerful Porsche, not as the most iconic, but as one of the most honest, which over time proved to be far more meaningful, because honesty in a driving experience is difficult to replicate. It requires restraint, it requires confidence in the fundamentals, and perhaps most importantly, it requires the willingness to build something that doesn't need to prove itself in obvious ways. The Boxster never tried to be everything, and that's exactly why it became something distinct, something respected. Because once the initial misconceptions faded, once the label of entry-level lost its influence, the car was left to be evaluated on its own terms, and on those terms, it didn't need to compete for attention. It earned it, quietly, gradually, and in a way that lasted, which is why today the conversation around the Boxster feels different from where it began, not because the car changed dramatically, but because the understanding around it did. And maybe that was always the point, because sometimes the most important things aren't misunderstood because they lack value, but because it takes time to recognize what that value really is. And if you enjoy stories like this, stories that go beyond assumptions and explore what truly defines a car, don't forget to subscribe. It's the best way to stay connected and not miss what's coming next.